Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and hey, you can do this. Because this is Airwindows SweetWide. This is a bit of a one-off. I've had this around for a little while, and I'm dropping it today because I'm real busy working on a bunch of other things. For instance, I've got a bunch of big improvements in store for my reverbs. They are the search process for searching through reverbs in order to be able to get better quality results is 10 times as fast as it was. I ported the code from GDScript and Godot to C#, and it turns out using C# arrays was a huge win. So I'm pretty excited about where that's leading. There will be way better reverbs coming. I'm still working on that video game. Maybe this coming week I'll be fooling with it a little bit. But I'm also digging into what I think is going to be the project for this year, based on, rather than telling AIs to make music for you, how about I write a program that is not an AI, but is sort of like, you could consider it a much more complicated version of Brian Eno's Oblique Strategies cards. Something that can prompt you. Something that can give you an idea of stuff to do. And I'll be talking about that more going forwards. There is a new version of Soft Clock coming out, which is a bit of a radical jump ahead along those lines. Maybe I'll talk about that in the comments on the top of the screen. But what I've got here, and I'm playing my old Discord Welcome Home track because that has stereo guitars, and using that I can show you what this does. Regular sound, SweetWide. We can also set it to be neutral. Then, they were watching ponies on the New York Stock Exchange. But there's more, because notice this has a soar control. That's a bit of an inside joke. Some of my music business friends did this originally. The idea is you do a dummy knob on the console, and then when somebody comes in trying to tell you what to do, go, oh, you have to control this knob. It's the soar knob. Dial it when you want to have the music soar more. And you turn it, it's not connected to anything. This, however, is, and here's how I can show you. I'm going to engage side channel only, because this is a stereo effect for widening stuff. See, it's called SweetWide. The way it's doing that is a bizarre variation on like left-right convolve. It's basically using a ring modulator to make more stereo width in a terrible twisted way. And I can show you exactly what that sounds like. Here we go. This is only the side channel. Crank wide all the way up, and you can hear there's more going on. Check out what happens when I use the soar control. None to all the way. So there's an interesting thing about this as well, which you can hear as I mess with this. I've got it on side only. One of the things that's the secret with this track is I very obviously have a overdubbed guitar, like a thickener guitar, and it is on the side channel only. So rather than being the left and right guitars, or a center guitar for making things thicker, I've overdubbed a guitar that is only a side channel. That's done through flipping the phase of one of the channels in the process, and you can plainly hear it. So the one that was real loud, that's the one that was side only. But it's also a way to show you what the side behavior is doing. Because again, this is not anything normal. Like if you asked AI to make your stereo wider, it would never come up with this because this hasn't been done because this is a really ugly hack. That's why I like it. It's kind of fun. I think it works for some of these things. We do have other sounds that I can use on this stuff. For instance, Novation Summit. It's not really a very stereo effect, but since it's a bassier sound, you can plainly hear the terrible things I'm doing with it. So, full wide, this is normal, and then I put it to full wide. Some of that is the actual synth though. And as we turn up soar, we start to really hear the terrible things that are being done. Turn it back down. And if we want to make this even more obvious, I will switch on the side channel only. This is off of my monitoring plugin, which you also have because it's free and downloadable. And monitoring 1, 2, and 3 are all just different dithering qualities. They all have this feature. So I turn on side channel only. Now listen to what it does when I turn soar up. We can turn it down a little bit or turn it down a lot more until it's fairly normal. But then you can also boost it a lot. So the reason that happens is because this is based on what I was doing with my convolve, like LR convolve plugins, which are essentially there to produce like terrible modulation effects. Like turn your voice into a horrible robot by having a sine wave or some kind of frequency on the other channel. It can do really gnarly things. This doesn't quite do that. Instead, it's doing something a little more complicated, but it's using some of the same techniques. What soar is doing is messing with the way the algorithm produces its ring modulating thing. And it's fairly plain to hear what it does on, for instance, a drum track. So here we have just some drums. They're not very stereo, but they're a little bit stereo. And if we turn up the wide all the way, then we can manipulate how stuff interacts with the sound based on where the soar knob is set. See, kick drum stuff started to happen. And the hat came out and got more exaggerated. The snare got a little bit livelier. And this is all stereo stuff. This is what the side channel sounds like on this. Take soar all the way back down again. And what you've got is fairly clean. But then we can bring in the way that it handles this algorithm. And you're getting an interesting sort of quality off of the snare drum there because it's bringing up some detail. There's a vaguely compressy quality to it. Or it can bring up a lot of detail. So you can go from nothing to a very saturated sound and then back down. If you didn't think that was really a saturated sound, I'll go back over to the synth again. Not saturated. Heavily saturated. Because there's that nonlinearity in there. And it can get real fuzzy. Oh yeah, and if we're using it as widely stereo, notice that this has another range. It says unwide. That is because you can do this. It's a stereo narrower. That's because you're using the opposite effect. Wide, narrow. And we can do that on the drum kit as well. Wide, normal, and then narrow. So in this way, it's suppressing the stereo information while getting kind of weird and dirty with it. So if that's any use to you, I mean, I don't know what you're looking at in mix situations or whether you'd need this particular kind of effect, but you got it. And we can even set this to a normalish setting again. Go back to the heavy rock stuff. Wide. Narrow.
I saw something very strange. For they were
And you get to fade it in
on the New York Stock Exchange. People, they all joined their hands and they set up a chant. And Discord oozed right through the screen.
And there you basically have it. What I've done with this SweetWide, and basically the only reason I'm calling it sweet is not because it's lacking distortion or anything. You heard it, it's grungy as anything. But it's a kind of nonlinearity that is sticking to even harmonics. It is applying asymmetrical stuff to the waveform in a pretty dramatic way. So what you got there is it's grabbing weird sort of side content and coming up with this way to hype it out in a way which can even be kind of super energetic and crackly. And my idea with this one, what I did when I was dialing it in was you could probably use this on like a big wide stereo guitar bus and use it to throw a little more drama and energy onto, and I say heavy stereo guitar, that's a normal thing people do, but who's to say you couldn't also track like stereo heavy D&B synths or something, or you're revisiting dubstep, or you're getting really harsh with something, or you've got a vocal, like you're doing some form of vocal for a new version of music that nobody even has a name for yet, and you would like things to be incredibly harsh, but you want stereo vocals, hard left and hard right, and you want that to be even wider and even more intense. Well, there you go. Mix it down to a bus, throw that on the hard left and hard right stereo bus, and add as much sort of extra mojo as you like. And you don't actually get to go to like ChatGPT and go, hi, generate me some music. Hi, Suno, generate me some music and have it do this, because it doesn't know. That stuff only works on things that have existed. This is not a thing that has existed. This one's new. Granted, it's maybe not as big of a deal as having like Dark Meter, which is in Console H and Console X2. And I'm still working on getting the standalone one to work. But maybe it's not as generally useful as something like that. But it is at least a original new thing. And it's been sitting around, waiting for me to get around to it. So now I can ask apologies for the engine idling outside. But also, now I can get back to the other work I was doing, part of which is making a video for this. But also, I'm working on that new version of Soft Clock. I'm working on a new version of Tape Hack. I'm listening to the cars around outside for whatever reason. And this is why recording for me can sometimes be challenging, is I don't live in a special place. This is not in a cabin in the woods or something like that. I don't own property in a big way. This is sort of the crappy part of town in Bellows Falls, Vermont, for which that's about like 3 square feet, so it's not really very impressive. It's not a scary place. But there's going to be like little people zipping around on little motorbikes and things like that. And the bright thing about that is that kind of stuff goes on, but then I also get to play drums in my room, which I've damped down quite a bit. And that's going to be interesting going into the new year. Anyways, this is SweetWide, and it doesn't actually sound sweet, but it is doing second harmonic and higher even harmonics, and it is applying like asymmetrical waveforms to do what it does, which is why I called it sweet, is because it's not simply applying distortion in the normal sense. I don't know whether you're going to get any use out of it, but hopefully somebody out there will. And if not, well, I'm here every week, so I'm going to have something else next week. Feel free to do whatever you got to do as far as subscribing to the channel and all of that stuff, so that you can see when I come up with a new, or indeed if your YouTube has gone crazy, like YouTube is not what it used to be these days, then just go to this YouTube channel, because I will have something for you next week. I am here every week. And hopefully that can stand up even against the world going completely crazy. Maybe I can't do much about that, but I can give you a new toy. And that suits me. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.